I don't know how I kept my sanity. When I was a kid, my dad told me a lot of people die and the survivors lose their minds when a city is hit by an atomic bomb. My dad also thought giving his children nightmares was funny, but I believe him regardless. We weren't really close to where it dropped, which is probably how my wife and I survived it in the first place. We still don't know who dropped it. It's a complete mystery. They came out of nowhere, flew right into New York City's airspace, dropped it, and zipped out before it had fallen 50 feet. Maybe they didn't want to watch it either. I know I'd love to unsee all I've seen. I've seen some otherworldly stuff since that day. Lights in the sky, people mutated by radiation, people who just lost their minds. Once I glimpsed an unnatural electric storm. There was what looked like a tube of pure energy shooting not from the sky to the ground, but from the ground to the sky. It left me pretty shaken, but curious. Basically, every large city on the planet got an atomic gift of their own. I always thought that maybe we would unite as a planet and defend ourselves against outsiders if we ever had to. And I was wrong. We all turned against each other, squabbling over the remains of supplies. It feels stupid sometimes, but we do what we have to do. I'd probably be dead if it weren't for my wife. Jane is quite the survivor. I never really anticipated it, but it's lucky for me I'm married to someone who watched survival shows and apocalypse movies. I never watched The Walking Dead, but now I'm wishing I had. Maybe it would have taught me something. It's okay though, I'm learning. Radiation is a weird thing. We never really knew if radiation could reanimate the dead until a year ago, and apparently it can. We learned this the hard way. We don't find a lot of dead bodies lying about because all of them are up and walking around. They're stumbling, slow, and stupid. Luckily for us, they're really easy to avoid. Jane and I speculate that a bite from one of those guys probably wouldn't turn you into one of them, but we don't feel like trying it out. From zombies, unfortunately, came other things. There have been some strange mutations in the zombie department. I mean, really strange. If I had to choose which monsters you have to worry about the most, I'd say predators and hatchets. Predators are average-sized humanoids with massive mouths and razor-sharp teeth, claw-like hands and slitted green eyes. Highly dangerous, and they're quick. Hatchets are always enraged and always violent. They're about 7 feet tall, also humanoid, with hatchet-like blades for hands. Dangerous if you don't know how to confuse them. There are stranger creatures. Slashers, four-legged creatures with huge claws that are as long as their arms. They'll cut you into pieces in mere seconds. Feeders, large octopus-like things that float through the air and feed on the living and the dead. They have glowing yellow eyes and massive tentacles. More mysterious still, there are what we call nightmares. Nightmares are tall, skinny humanoids who radiate energy, the shortest of which stand at least 9 feet tall. They're solid black and have vibrant red eyes. Strangely, they're almost always docile, unless, of course, you try to steal their energy. When we first encountered nightmares, they were both horrifying and fascinating. Soon we learned that they're tolerant to other creatures, and most creatures are tolerant to them. Sometimes nightmares will attack at random, no one really knows why, but it's a rare occasion. Solar panels are the easiest way to steal a nightmare's energy, and the reason that people try to take their energy in the first place is because they produce more usable energy than the sun. According to any still living scientific minds, the bombs knocked the Earth slightly closer to the sun. Oddly enough, though, it doesn't feel hotter on the ground. It feels colder. The sun became dim, and it seems far away, but it's not. It may be that there's heavier cloud coverage so that it doesn't reach the ground as much as it used to, and maybe it doesn't produce as much energy as it used to. I don't know. I'm not a genius. My working theory is, since the only things receiving the sun's heat are the clouds, that would explain what happens when it rains. My mom would always tell me not to go outside if it was raining. In turn, I would look to my dad. "He's not made of sugar," my dad would say. "He won't melt." I appreciate the sentiment now, but that statement has never been more wrong. It doesn't rain often. When it does, it's either as black as tar, or it's a deep green, and it's so hot, it melts everything it touches. It's hard to hide from. Scavenging is one of the only relatively interesting pastimes now, but it also makes me feel sad. Picking through the remains of what was once a content and thriving civilization can have that effect. We were far from perfect, but at least we were alive and striving to be better. I pull a machete out of the rubble and smile to myself. "Hey, Jane," I say. She turns and sees it. "Jealous?" "Not really," she says, unsticking a larger one from a stump. Oh, crap. We move carefully down the street, picking through the trash littering the area, looking for anything worth taking with us. This being food, weapons, ammo for our weapons, and water. Yeah, water is kind of a big deal. A strange hum reaches my ears, and I know immediately what it is. A feeder, and it's coming straight in our direction. I don't know if it's seen us already, but I can't see it, which is a good sign. "Jane, there's a feeder coming." She runs to me, and we both move quickly. She recommends we find cover, which I agree to. There's no use wasting ammo to take this thing down. They never have anything of value. If it hovers over and misses us, that's great. I don't want my gunfire attracting every other unpleasant mutation down on our heads. In the apocalypse, an uneventful day is a godsend. I hear Jane curse. "Too late, he's seen us." I turn and see the feeder coming in our direction. It looks abnormal and freakish, zipping toward us. Its sickly tentacles trailing behind it, its yellow eyes fix onto mine. I raise my hunting rifle and aim for its eyes. A blinding white flash fills my eyes and a pain in my head. I'm falling. I land hard on the concrete, feeling something in my leg bend nearly to the point of breaking. I open my eyes and clutch my leg. My ears are ringing, my head hurts. It hit me. Hard. It must have used one of its tentacles, and it was probably trying to render me helpless. I look up, and I see it hovering over an unconscious Jane. I scramble to pick up my rifle and take aim again. It sees me 1 second too late as I fire off a round, penetrating somewhere on its face. As it careens back in shock, black blood running down its pale head. I run to Jane, just as it flies off as quickly as it came. I hear a low moan echo down the nearest alley. This is exactly what I didn't want. Picking her up, her limp head rolling to one side. She's weighing me down, and the zombies are getting closer. I continue to move as quickly as I can while trying to wake her up. I move as fast as I physically can and manage to gain a little distance on them, but they're still in sight. I put Jane on the ground and I slap her hard, and she wakes up with a jolt. She looks like she wants to say something, but obviously sees the living dead trailing us. She yells that we have to go. We start running. It's a good thing you woke up when you did. We take a full sprint toward an old warehouse, but the monsters are pouring towards us out of every alley I can see. I tell Jane to run faster as we close in on the door to the warehouse. But the undead are closing in on us.